Well, hello there. Welcome on this beautiful Wednesday into the NFT Live studio. I've got a lot of awesome creators sitting here on stage. I got a lot of people in chat ready for us. It is ish time to get started. Thank you, XPOD, for that. You always get us started off very nicely with the comments here, guys. We are covering the NFT and Web3 industry today. Like I said, all of these guys know a ton about the industry, so we're going to go kind of rapid fire. We got a lot of topics to cover. I guess we'll go around the round table here, or the square table, as they say. Gift Dead, how are you doing, my man?
Yo, live another day. Always, always a blessing to be here with y'all. Our vibe, our tribe. You know what it is. Yeah, no, we had a great, morning show, GM Web 3, and didn't really get as much sleep as I would have liked last night. But hopefully, I got enough to get through all of these amazing topics we're about to be digging into. And yeah, just happy to be here.
Love it. Ronan, what's up, man?
Not much, dude. It's been an interesting week. I feel like, things are starting to get picked up again. There's a little more news. There's a little more, excitement. There's more movement. Like, I was looking, I don't think we had anything on here talking about CloneX and how Artifact like dropped a tweet yesterday. They got some stuff coming for the clone. So the clone 4 has been moving today. Yeah, man. You see some news, right? Big brands getting into the space. We saw for all those real collectors out there, Build-A-Bears coming into NFTs. Anybody who's got kids, I'm sure you can understand what that means. So
Just in time for Christmas. Let's go.
Dude, yeah. Well, it's interesting too, because like as somebody who like works with brands, right? It's like, what is their approach? And a lot of brands are taking this kind of, they try something and then that's kind of, they leave it, right? Build-A-Bear's like, fuck it, like we're gonna try multiple things. So they've got something going down this month, something next month, and then another activation in December, and they're covering the gamut of distribution models. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out and how people how it's received in the space.
Everybody give Ronan a big shout out too. It looks like the token frame is working today. So we've got ourselves a great, is that who I think it is? Is that Tommy Wilson?
Hell yeah, that's my CCO copy.
Nice.
Dude, yeah, man, Tommy does some excellent work. And I wish that, I don't know why it's usually it comes up really nice in the background, but today it seems like it's not wanting to work. Go figure, token frame. Maybe it's the exposure. I don't know.
All right.
But yeah, dude, it's
last but not least,
the Z Hovac hat too. Looking good.
Dude, I don't wear it enough. I try to like wear it whenever I can get the opportunity. I figure it brings out the blue in my Metallica. So, you know me, I try to rock colors.
Ronan's out here just stunting on everybody. Last guy in here without a pseudonym here, Mike Finch.
No.
Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I got to update my shit here, man. Goodness. Yeah, I think Build-A-Bear makes sense because that's all I've experienced over the last few weeks. It's just like the mud and the trudge of this bear market that we find ourselves in. So happy to be here. Happy to be talking and thinking things other than what will Powell eat for breakfast this morning that will affect all of our futures. So back at it, man. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, as always.
It's great to have all three of you here talking NFTs and Web3 with me today. Good to have you guys here in the channel as well. If you are here for the first time, this is a large network. We have a bunch of different shows. This is NFT Live. We're covering everything when it comes to the non-fungible token industry. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I kind of jumped in front of Ronan here, so I'll let him have the first crack here on our first story, which is going to be SEC versus Kim Kardashian. These are like quick hits before we get to our main good stuff, Ronan. So I want the good stuff from you right now. Does Kim Kardashian SEC news move the needle for yourself?
I think what's really interesting is the conversations that are now going on around it and what it means for like crypto/NFT influencers, right? Like, what does it mean for all the guys who kind of built their names and have 100, 200,000 followers on kind of shilling these projects and in the background kind of getting paid for it. A lot of people think like, well, they're probably don't have anything to worry about, but you're not realizing some of these guys were charging like $2, $3, $5, $10,000 to tweet about these NFT projects, right? So I think like, how does it move the needle for me? It just for me, I wasn't taking money for tweets, so I don't have to worry about that. But I think that for somebody who like, all of us here, we watch the space closely. I think it's just another thing that we just have to watch and see like how it affects regulation and how it affects laws and how it affects like the way we do our business, and just to keep ourselves knowledgeable about that. Other than that, sorry, Kim, this is literally like saying, give us $1.50. She don't care.
Yeah,
It doesn't.
It's operational cost. It's like cost of doing business for her, right?
Well, she actually got fined more than she got paid. So in
like
this
5 to
instance,
10 times is more.
That is true. So it's definitely still and I mean, the other thing that I think is arguably pretty good is that they barred her from promoting crypto assets for 3 years. So it's like, to me, it's like that's actually the more meaningful repercussion. Is if they have basically the gatekeeping ability to say you can or cannot even operate in this space. I don't know. I'm very ambivalent about it because I see both sides where it's like I think arguably you want more regulation and controls in situations like this where influencers are rugging people or not disclosing to their fans that they're getting paid. But also, you can argue it's an overreach by the FTC trying to make a lot of what's happening in NFTs and crypto securities, and that's not necessarily good. So I see both sides of it, but I think one of the interesting things to Ronan's point about like observing how this impacts how we do our day-to-day business is that she did actually hashtag ad disclose that it was an ad. It was a very small hashtag, but this is not being classified as an FTC, but as an SEC infringement, and that definitely could have major ramifications for anybody who's promoting in the space.
Mike, does this bring back like PTSD memories from like ICO days? If anybody doesn't know, Mike Finch, co-founder of ICO Alert, one of the major ICO discovery platforms back in the day, we had a lot of things that we did at our company to make sure this didn't happen to us.
Yeah, we spent a lot of money on that front with lawyers and whatnot, and this was even before regulation was at the point that it's at now. Obviously, like we've not a lot kind of big picture has changed, but I think behind the scenes a lot has changed. So yeah, it's like that stuff is some of the most obvious stuff that you have to do and that your lawyers are going to like make sure is there before they sign off, before you can add it to your Instagram story. It's like the people who are buying Ethereum Max because Kim Kardashian told them, right? Like that's kind of my favorite take here is like, why are we taking financial advice from Instagram? If Kim K has some crazy knowledge at the top of the crypto market here that is going to turn your $10 into $1 million, then like what's she sharing it for, right?
You don't subscribe to Kim's Alpha Group, Mike?
Yeah, right. Coming next. I also love that they gave her a 3-year ban because that will probably be the top of the next 12 or 14 month bull run. So she'll just hop right back in and do it again. But yeah, I mean, this is just like these things are great because for me, right, like this is obviously a big celebrity. This is something that hit the mainstream news, like non-crypto news in some degree. So this is a great opportunity to like talk to your family members when they bring up like, did Kim Kardashian create her own cryptocurrency? And you're like, no. Like she's promoting the other one. You want to buy this one kind of thing, right? So, it's nice to have the conversation there get started in that way versus like, hey, I'm down 75%. Thanks for the shill at 3,500 ETH. Appreciate it. So,
yeah, we have those talks as well.
Yeah, the fact that like this is, to Mike's point, going to be like the headline that gets the most coverage for the next month or two, and it's another very negative headline. I don't love that.
Yeah, one that might be positive. I think most of us here would believe this next story is going to be positive, but I do want to bring it up real quick. Elon Musk actually is renewing his bid here to buy Twitter. I want to get the general feel of the room here on how you guys feel about Elon kind of basically buying what amounts to where Web3 spends the most time, right? Like the news, the communities for the most part, they're hanging out on Twitter. Of course, they have Discords and these other rooms that they can go to have more convenient talk. But basically, Twitter is home base for NFTs and Web3. What does this news piece do for our space, if anything? Ronan, I'll head it back to you. Does this move the needle for you a little bit more than Kim K?
I don't, no. I don't know. Like he put out that tweet yesterday or whatever, or the day before, like this is just the start of whatever platform. And I don't know, man. Like, I think I don't know. I don't really think it like moves anything. I think it'll be a year, 2 years before this whole thing is shooken out and done and taken like to a point where it matters. And then when it does, like, does it really, So I don't know.
I think that's fair. Yeah. Musk is a guy too who like seems to kind of go back and forth. Like it seems to be like, what kind of coffee did he have that day will affect his desire to buy Twitter. I mean, the stock's up huge. It's at almost $52. I mean, I remember when this was down in the teens. Wish I would have bought it then. So it's having a positive effect on the stock price, and it does seem to be closer than ever. I don't know, how far along they are in kind of finalizing things, but, I saw something else where it said Carl Icahn made like 250 mil because he was slowly accumulating a bunch of Twitter. But for Web3, like I kind of side with Ronan, right? Like, I think maybe net long term, it's a good thing because you don't have to worry about some weird, climate effect narrative coming for crypto that then like the, Twitter executives decide like, hey, there's no good in having crypto people on Twitter. Let's silence them or ban them or whatever. Or it's something like the Kim K story, right? Where it's like, oh my God, we have all these people promoting these shitcoins on Twitter. Like, we need to get rid of this, right? And it just completely, I think there was a bit of a chance if Elon doesn't buy it. But if he does, then that seems to me to kind of be done. Like, he's just going to be throwing Doge ads up there and everything, let the party get going.
So yeah, I'll take the side of being very, very bullish about this. I agree. It might take a while for it to all kind of like net out. Like and nobody really knows. But since we're here speculating, having a good time talking about this shit, right? I mean, to Mike, your point, like somebody else could have bought Twitter. Rupert Murdoch could have bought Twitter. What would that do for crypto? To your point, maybe it becomes an environmental issue or a conservative political issue, and it becomes a punching bag for that. The fact that somebody who's as innovative, as tech forward, thinking about how do we push humanity to Mars, who's thinking about modern solutions to big societal problems, I see this as one of the most bullish possible things that could have happened for the Twitterverse. And at least in terms of crypto, right? Because we already know that like he's done more for crypto awareness and adoption than probably almost any other single individual in all of humanity. I mean, maybe you can name one or two.
Kim
but
Kardashian.
Like, he has been maybe Kim. But he has been at the forefront of many conversations, talking about it actively. How many other people have an audience like he has, have a platform like he is, who have been actively promoting and bullish about crypto and what it can do?
Yeah, it's just tough to judge the timeline, right? Of like when this is going to take effect, or like when do you see Elon's fingerprints on Twitter? But I think I'm with GIF in that it's extremely bullish for someone like him to have their hold on this platform that we use, and he definitely has shown himself to be tech forward, which I think is a great term there. So yeah, Elon, hopefully he's watching NFT Live here and sees the good sentiment that he's getting from within the community. Guys, I see you in the chat. I want to give a quick shout out to everyone who is chatting early and often so far. We just pressed live here on today's Wednesday's episode. Choina, Easy in Crypto, Alien River, XPlow, Space Smells Like, Digits, Prodigy, and DJ Savage in the chat so far. Guys, if you have something you want us to talk about, leave it in the chat. We'll likely bring it up. But as far as topics for today, let me get to a quick rundown. We're going to go over some projects that these guys have been into over the past month, maybe some a little bit longer than that, here right after this. I think it's RENGA, Stoics, and Doodles. We're going to kind of give some updates on Bored Ape Yacht Club. We've got some staking stuff that goes live at the end of the month that we want to kind of work our way through. I think we're all also within the BAYC ecosystem. Mythical Games is launching a token. Shout out to Mythical building Blankos over there in the GameFi ecosystem. VeeFriends, Toys R Us, bringing back Toys R Us. We are going to touch on that, as well as a Cool Cats, Animoca Brands, and some other cool things. So if you have any more topics, throw them in there. Otherwise, we will get started. I'm going to let you guys, as we say on the GM Web3 morning show, fight it out for the first topic here. We have RENGA, Stoics, and Doodles. Who wants to give their shot here on like a quick update on where you think we're at with those projects? I know Ronan, RENGA was something you brought up on the last episode. I think GiftEd is in as well. Project's doing extremely well. Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Ronan got me in. So shout out Ronan, because if it wasn't for you, I mean, I was already aware, but you know how like I'm very much like a momentum trader with a lot of these things. And so when I see trusted voices like you continuing to like hype up a project and get excited on top of, you know, all the other noise around something, that usually to me is a pretty bullish signal. So I actually aped in probably some of the most expensive NFTs I've ever bought. I got 2 Rengas around 1.5, 1.7 ETH. So I spent probably over 3 ETH just to get 2 Rengas. And so far, it's looking good, because on both Rengas and Stoics, the floor appears to be lava right now. So, yeah, shout out Ronan.
What do you got, Ronan?
What? No, you're good. Go for it. I got new questions.
Dude, that's awesome to hear that like you ended up jumping in. I also aped in. I went a little extra hard, and you know, I think that for me, yeah, there's a vibe, right? We talk about that a lot, and we talk like in the space, like in culture, right? Like the word vibe is like really thrown around a lot, but what I mean by when I say there's a vibe, there's just certain aspects of the space, of the community, of Twitter, of the Discord that start to like really shine, right, in some of these projects. And when you have like the right mix, then I think that it has the potential to like really blow up. And this was one of those that I had been following for a while. Like we talked about it last week. And unfortunately, like I kind of fell off. I sold all my towels. I had 12 at one point. You know, it would have been nice if I had 12 black boxes right about now. But you know, seeing other people get into it, seeing again, I use the same metrics that GIF does, right? Like I start looking at like the overall sentiment on traders that I trust. And one that I trust is OGD Farmer, and I follow OGD, and he was like, yo, these are like really cool. I like them. He's been talking about them for a while. I was like, dude, I'm just gonna like see what it's about. I got invited to a private message, and like these are the things that like all kind of take place in these projects that I've done well in, right? Like for me personally, and that's why I want to make sure this is like very clear. These are things that I have experience with that when they happened in the past led to me having, you know, wins, right, if you will. So for me, this felt very much, and it still feels very much like the closest launch that we've had since Oni. And what I mean by that is this has the ups and the downs of a project that can be taken advantage of if you're paying attention. You know, in the last week, right? Like it was like, you know, Gift said it was somewhere around 1.5, I think was the floor. Right now the floor is 2.4. It maxed at like 3 something over the weekend, right? And if you had taken advantage of that, then you could buy in low, you could sell high, and then there was like 2 times that it dipped over the weekend, right? So if you're following these trends and you're watching, you can take advantage of it. I think if I like were to cash out now, like I'd probably be 7 or 8 ETH up, you know, and so and And I do think, and this is again not financial advice, do your own research. You feel like you look for what you're looking for, but for me, I do think like we're about to see another one, right? We're gonna see like the same pump this weekend. Thursdays are always kind of good leading indicator of what the weekend's going to look like. Fridays are always when things pop off. Saturdays are like, if it's really trending well, Saturdays are like the catalyst. And then Sundays where everybody starts to like, you know, get real and capitulate a little bit and like things it finds its new norm, right? And then
I wonder what the correlation to alcohol consumption and aping into NFT projects is. Because usually you start drinking around Thursday, and
little
then
Twitter
Sunday
fingers action.
when you're
in Web3, it's probably how many people are getting super stoned, right? Like, I mean, I'm in this group, man. I don't know how many people are like, bro, I was super like stoned the other night and bought this one, right? Like, yeah, like, and it's like. Not necessarily a bad thing if you aped in, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday night last week, and Friday you woke up and were like, shit, I made double my money or whatever, right? Like, and again, like look for cool opportunities. For me, I bought a couple of, you know, rarer ones that were near the floor at the time, and those turn out to be even better, you know.
I want to stay on RENGA real quick. Do you guys have any questions related to RENGA or you know, comments there? Gif or Mike?
I to be honest, I haven't looked into RENGA much. I mean, I obviously heard about it. It's interesting that it's kind of along this new category within NFTs that seems to be around storytelling. Like that has kind of slowly built, and then this seems to be one of the leaders in that kind of realm. I guess my question to you guys is why RENGA in particular versus others like 10KTF, right? Who's kind of had all this like rumor and speculation about their connection to Yuga and to other side, right? And have like gone through and told this big story. Why is RENGA doing so much better? Is it just because it's early and maybe the hype is still, you know, kind of high? They haven't had any opportunity to disappoint, right? Or is it something else that you see there?
Yeah.
Ronan probably has more to say on this, so I'll say my piece briefly. I do think what you said about like storytelling NFTs are probably part of the new meta. I don't know if it'll be like, you know, like as big as some of the other metas, like the free mint meta, but storytelling NFTs are having a moment. And I do think that will continue for a little while to be, you know, a popular place for projects to be going and for collectors to be looking. But then the other part is that definitely in the NFT space, hype cycles are very, very important, right? That's where all the attention is. So anything that's new is going to be getting a lot more attention than something that's been around as long as 10KTF.
Yeah. And I think like for RENGA, part of it is the fact that like a lot of people are assuming they're going to get put into that ecosystem as well, right? Like I think with 10KTF, there's some things there that I think they could have done better, right? Like the quantity, like the supply is a little high. Like, I do think it's a cool project that like the storytelling is excellent. Like the animations are dope. Like the team behind it is definitely like doing some cool stuff and they're going to continue to do cool things. I think like when a project is an entry point to that ecosystem, it just brings that a little more value, right? And when you look at like the collection, I think I see a lot of the similar trading you know, trends that I saw with a lot of these other ones, which is you know, if you look, you're going to see a lot of the buys when volume is really rocking. A lot of them are not floor pickups, right? A lot of them are higher pickups, and the reason that is because people are buying up those rares and they're locking them away, right? Like, and these are traders who know that the more they pick up the good looking ones, the more other people will pick up the floor ones, the more it'll drive the price. And eventually like their good looking ones are going to have even more value. So when you look at like what's taking place, like good metrics to always watch for like anybody who's like looking into this stuff, right? You want to look at like what your floor price is, what your sales are, what your, you know, your overall like sales have been over 24 hours, 7 days, but you also want to look at like, which is really helpful for OpenSea. You want to look at what are the new metrics they added? The
unique holders, I think.
Yeah, the unique holders is really like a big one, right? Like the more unique holders, the better. But then as you get to the crescendo of like 45, 50%, you're probably like hitting a max right now, right? Especially depending on like how many quantity there are and things like that. How many are listed is important, right? Like the lower listed, the better, especially like if you're seeing a trend of people buying. A trend, something to look for if you're, considering an exit, or if you're considering on selling to move up, are people accepting WETH offers, right? People start to accept WETH offers when they have like lower sentiment. So it's also an opportunity, if you have strong sentiments, to then take advantage, send some really low ball WETH offers, and then hold them, right? For me, I got a couple of these through WETH offers that I sent out while like things were trending downwards, and then I pocket them, and then when they're trending upwards, I throw them back out there, right? So a lot of different things.
What's a good listed percent, would you say?
Less than 10 is always a plus. Like, and if you're seeing if you're seeing double digits listed, then people aren't really wanting to be in the project. I mean, but of course that depends, right? How many are there? Like, what's the percentage of holders, right? But like for me,
life cycle also matters, right? Because when it's early and it's hype and the volume's high and a lot of people are speculating, so the trading volume's higher, you're going to have a higher percentage of ones that are listed. If something's been around for a couple months and it's
the
no
active
longer
users,
in that initial,
dude,
active users don't move. That's another thing you need to look at. When you see these projects that are like, yo, they're top trending, there's like, it's top 10, top 5, and you're like, what's this project about? And you go and you watch it for 2, 6, 8, 10 hours, and there's a ton of volume, but you see the active user or unique users isn't moving. And you got a whole bunch of people that are just swapping cash to like make shit look like there's somebody who should give a shit, right? Like, so you look out for those types of trends and avoid them. And
it's so much based on momentum
behind
too.
The vibe. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, the science behind the vibe. It was funny because I was watching the old school Wall Street movie the other day, and it was the scene where he was selling buying Endicott steel, and it was like insider trading. I was like, this probably looks like what some NFT buys look like, where people on the inside know what the fuck's going on, and then they spread it down the pipeline to their groups and all this stuff, and then you get all this momentum. I was like, this has a lot of analogies to what we do in NFTs. The other thing I will say, Mike, is like, this is probably a feature and not a bug for 10KTF, but more so than any other project in the entire space. I've gotten questions on what the fuck is 10KTF and how do you get into it? I like what do I buy? Do I buy the threads, or do I buy the backpack?
I'm that guy. Absolutely, for sure, 1000%. Don't know how to get into it.
No, I get it. I get it for sure. It's like the Discords where you have to like. I literally joined a Discord that is in the like ZK sync, zero knowledge stuff niche within crypto, and they wanted you to like do research. I'm like, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Why do I need to figure out like how some EIP actually works? Like, this is ridiculous. You guys are never going to get any traction.
Grind on Google, bro. Go grind on Google for a couple days, and then maybe you can get onto our allow list.
Yes, maybe.
Sound good?
Guys, we're sitting at almost halfway through the episode, and we do have a lot of topics to get to. If you are in the chat, please leave a like here on YouTube. It does help get the episode out. Retweet or like if you're on Twitter and watching us. Love to see you guys here with us on this Monday. Let's quickly talk about Stoics. Oh, Wednesday. Let's quickly talk about Stoics and Doodles. You know how it is. Why are you giving me? You've done that on your shows, so you know it.
I did not know what day it was today, straight up. So I feel you.
All right, quick update on Stoics and if they're doing anything or what you think on that gift ed. I know you're a big time proponent of them and Gabe Weiss.
Yeah, I won't go into talking about how many I've already flipped and how many I'm still holding, but it does seem like the floor continues to slowly rise, like consistently. It's up close to 0.4 now. So it's like this to me has been a very, very healthy rollout. There was no like massive run-ups or spikes or drops. This one has seemed to be very, very slowly, and that's to me, again, like healthy is like slow upward trends. Like when you got these massive pumps and then you got this massive dump, that's not a sign of a healthy growing community, right? So the fact that like they've consistently, since they've launched over the last couple of weeks, had this slow, consistent kind of upward trajectory, to me says that this is a very, very healthy project. As young as it is, it's already like, I think, setting a solid foundation.
Love it. Big shout out to Kieran in the chat, as well as Gabe. Gabe Allred's in the chat here from Bitlectro Labs, big friend of the channel here. All right, let's hit really quick, unless someone has any comments here on Stoics. Mike, you have been in Doodles for a long time. We actually own a golden doodle, which I guess that I didn't even make that connection.
Ooh.
That it's not a real dog;
Not a
it's just a
dog.
golden doodle. But anyways,
I am
man,
gonna run with that though.
I completely botched that run in. But go ahead, tell me a little bit about Doodles. What your thoughts are today in that ecosystem?
Yeah, they kind of had some pretty hilarious to me, like lack of communication over the summer. I don't know if they were in the south of France or they were hustling in the streets of New York or LA or whatever, right? But they're back in a lot of ways. You see the Twitter active and you see some things happening. On the trading side, like there's some great pricing on rare heads. Like a pickle went cheap, a flower head went cheap. Some pretty wild pricing there.
What's cheap?
I guess kind of
what's cheap here? Like 80?
Cheap. Well, cheap. I should say relative to where they've traded at. Obviously within the last year, right? So, a pickle 6 months ago that went for 50 or 60 ETH went for 19, right? So still pricey, obviously, in dollar terms, but historically way down. So for your large collectors,
that's a pricey pickle.
Yeah, it's a pricey pickle for sure. But for your large collectors, right? Like it just kind of presents an interesting opportunity to get in at a point where, for example, they're coming up on their first anniversary, right? So their kind of big next announcement or growth milestone is going to be really releasing how all of the other NFTs within the ecosystem work, right? Like how do the OG Doodles work with the duplicator and with the Genesis box as they relate to their Doodles 2 program, which is designed to exist on say like an Instagram or a Facebook, right? To be much more mainstream. So there's obviously lots of speculation there, but their initial goal for that this kind of next rollout, right, was end of Q3. And, we're past end of Q3 now. You've got their 1 year anniversary coming up on October 17th. So here in about, 12 days, depending on when you're listening to this, we might see an interesting announcement from them there as well. And you've kind of seen, we've seen more floor sweeping happening a little bit in Doodles, and it has, maintained pretty well here between about 7 and 9 ETH. So, keep an eye on what's next from them on that front.
Yeah, extremely bullish on Doodles. The last question that I want to ask to tie up this topic before we move into ApeCoin staking is how you guys feel that these three, not just these three projects, but like specifically maybe a RENGA's and a Stoics doing extremely well, even in a bear market. Is that a bigger, like is that a promising trend is what I'm trying to get at? Or are these kind of outliers in a sense when it comes to, being able to flip? Like if in the past, maybe this was an indicator that, hey, we're getting on a roll here. Ronan mentioned when he was talking about RENGA that there could be another project, in a few weeks or things like this. Do you guys see this as a promising trend, or are these two outliers in what's basically still a bear market?
Well, so we all know the stats right now. They're abysmal, NFT trading. Like we're getting flamed on Stephen Colbert, right? Is like talking about how NFT trading volume is down 97% or whatever it is since the beginning of the year. So we all know like how awful the macro market is. I see it as a bullish indicator that NFT collectibles will always have a place, because even in the most horrible macro environment, there are still massive projects being launched, being developed, finding audiences, having massive success, having a lot of volume traded. So to me, this just says that like even as the technology evolves, even as macroeconomic conditions fluctuate, there will always be degenning, people speculating on art, and I don't know. That makes me feel good long term.
Yeah, I think that I don't think we're gonna see I just think this is like a momentary thing. I don't think we're going to see like a whole lot of this, right? Like, I think right now, I don't know, like the sentiment seems to be really high. Like, I feel like we're going to have these kind of spikes, right? Like, I don't feel like we're out of a bear. I don't feel like this is going to carry like a ton of momentum into like, NFT fall or anything crazy like that. But that's not to say that like the opportunities aren't there or that you can't make them if like you're not like putting in the work and the effort and the education. Like that's the biggest thing, like we talk about that a lot. Like for me, like it's been super hard, right? Like a day job and everything, kids and all that stuff. So it's been hard to find projects that I can really get behind and have some conviction to, that I wanted to spend the money. I mean, just 2 weeks ago, dude, you asked like everybody like, what are you guys getting into? And I literally laughed because I'm like, I'm not touching a damn thing. You know what I mean? And then here I am like 2 weeks later and I'm like balls deep in Renga. And it's like, sometimes it happens and so you don't know when it's going to happen, but I don't think that this is some sustainable, like, I think volume will continue to look pretty decent on some volume or some top collections to Gift's point. And I think their degens have to degen. But no, we're not going to see like huge volume.
Yeah, we got to talk about that NFT fall branding as well. I don't think that doesn't roll off the tongue like a Solana summer potentially. But Mike, you were making this point prior to the show in that like a lot of this is tied to, the macro crypto market or the macro like global market. You have insights in there being that you like look at that part of the market more than we do. Is that kind of your feeling, is like that stuff is going to need to get handled before we see like a general return?
Yes and no. Like I try to think about this constantly because I think more than ever, crypto has grown to a large enough level where it is affected by, the mainstream economy, macro, stock market, whatever you want to call it, right? Like if macro is going to affect stock price and stock price is going to affect the price of ETH, then the price of ETH is going to affect kind of how much profit people have left over to throw into some of this stuff. I think, I agree with Ronan, right, that you're going to kind of see these spikes here and there. Broadly, the beauty of crypto is that it is still very much just kind of like fully an internet craze, meaning that like it is its own ecosystem still. So the deeper you go out on the risk curve within crypto, NFTs, being rather out there, the more isolated that's going to be from some of these macro events. So if you are going to, trade anything in this market, this is really kind of where you want to be, right? This is where you're going to find the most opportunities. Like it's going to be hard to catch a 5, 7, 9, even a 3x on a coin that's in the top 100 by market cap. Like that just isn't happening. 10, 15, 20% moves are getting sold off pretty much immediately. And the infrastructure around them, with futures and options and these different things are helping kind of dampen those moves, right? So, I guess my question that I would kind of pose back to you guys, right, is when it comes to this stuff outside of kind of these little blips, and more broadly with NFTs, Q, do you think as the next cycle comes around that you'll have a lot of the biggest, best collections today doing well in the next cycle in kind of their current like NFT structure, or will it be something within NFTs that's completely new and completely innovative that like kind of disrupts everything and everybody moves on from the PFPs or the stories or whatnot onto, into this new, innovative kind of NFT niche?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm the one that asks questions on NFT Live, sir. But no, I'm a big proponent of PFPs. I think people give PFPs a lot of shit because they were very much like the forefront of the last cycle, and they kind of see it as like, oh, what's next, right? Like there's 7 billion people or however many people there are in the world that are going to want eventually their digital identities to be owned by them. Like there's that many people. So do I think that there's going to be, another cycle that features GameFi or something like that? Yes, of course. Like that's going to be what I'm betting on heavily in the next cycle, because the games that everybody raised on in 2020 and 2021 hopefully are coming out by 23. Like Other Side is a great example. Probably the best the network has ever done was covering that launch, right? So like there's interest in that other side that is going to be outsized more than like someone wants to care about the things that we look at on a daily basis. So I think gaming, of course, is like something I'm focused on, but it's kind of a cop out answer, but like I think both will exist. And I think we know, being from the ICO days, that there have been larger projects that have completely survived throughout that process, and they've evolved and they've done other things. So it's not to say that like Cool Cats or Doodles, are not going to exist. In fact, they're making moves so that they do, right? They're making all the right moves. They're raising the right funds so that they can be the leaders in the next cycle. But yeah, there's going to be a ton that don't. There's going to, like, not every PFP that launched in 2020 is going to be around in that cycle. So maybe, go ahead.
That's the trick then, I guess, right? Because when you look at like RENGA and Stoics and some of these others where you get in and you can pull down a 3, 5, 7, 10x, it's like, okay, well, that could be a 30, 70, or 100x, just like a BAYC did, but you might have to wait 2 years. So it's like, there's really no scenario where you probably don't lose on any of them, right? Like there's going to be some that you look back and you're like, oh my God, yeah, it was like a 7x on whatever, but if I'd held it, it would have been a 70. And look at me now. Like I ended up trading all that away on other NFTs that didn't exist. So it's tough. Like I totally get on one side taking profit and just, if you take down, mint is 0.03 or something, I don't know. And you take down 5 of them, right? And you pitch off 1 to bring your, take your money back, and you slowly pitch off 3, and you just kind of hold 1 versus holding all 5, and you hide it away in your OpenSea collection so that you don't even think about selling it, so that hopefully in 2 years it's worth another 10x. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe that's the best strategy, but it's tough out there to kind of make these decisions in the current market environment, understanding that a few of them will be around 2 years from now, and God knows where the floor will be at, or where the price of ETH will be at.
Yeah, I think like that is we talk a lot about like trading strategies, and for me it's always like that's just another, like I have to put an asset into a column, and like it's like, does this asset go in the column of like long-term hold because like it has long-term potential, right? Like, and how do you make that decision? Well, look at the teams, like listen to like the conversations they're having in the Twitter spaces, and read the Medium articles and their white paper, and like really get a feel for these projects and see like who is thinking long term and who is going to build value over a long period of time, and then who like you're really not sure, right? Like some of these projects I strictly get in and I'm like, this is going to pump hard as fuck because this or that. But let me tell you, I'm all out before like it's done, right? Like, and I don't want a single one of those assets left in my collection. And then there's others that, like I'll buy 5 and like RENGA, like I bought 5 and I was like, I think I'm willing to sell 2 if we see like a pump and recover like my whatever I invested. I'm going to hold a couple and then see where that goes. And the long-term goal, holding 2 long-term, right? Because I do feel like this is one. I Dirty Robot is an artist I follow for a couple of years, and I think that he's been building this IP for a long time. There's already a comic book out there, like a graphic art, novel that's got like all the same style of art and stuff that I think like he's pulling these characters from. So what does that look like now that he's got all this money and funds, and what does that brand feel like in a year or 2? I think people have to really realize that like and then there's different classes. There's these ones that are going to pump and be worth something long-term because they're going to have value, right? Like I just read something the other day that these Fortnite Topps cards that came out in 2019 that people were like, these are so stupid. Like if they're mint condition and you've got like one of like the higher rare holographs, dude, they're selling for 10 grand now. It's like, and that's not a long period of time. It's been 3 years. What is that card worth in fucking 5 or 10 years, right? So like people are so short-minded, and like to somebody said this in chat, and that's why I was trying to like bring it up. But like the short-mindedness does definitely cripple a lot of opportunities for both projects and collectors, in a lot of different ways. So it's such a fine balance. That's why so few get into it and do well, and do well consistently.
Yeah, fantastic. Go ahead, Gif. Go ahead.
I mean, do we want to stay on this topic? Because I got a lot to add. If we want to keep it going, then we
keep going, dude. This is not GM Web3. This is NFT Live. Just roll. This goes off the. Actually, you guys go way off the rails more so.
So first of all, like I'll double tap on what Ronan was saying about like the teams, right? That's one of the most important things. You know, if we're looking at longevity of certain projects over others, and what are going to make some projects more successful long term versus the ones that are going to go to zero and not really matter in the future. There's two things to me. There's art. There's artists, legit art, like valuable, credible artists and art projects, and then there's utility. And so I'm looking for legit artists that are either already established, like a Damien Hirst, or upcoming artists that are doing incredible work, already have a brand, a voice, and are going to be continuing to be creating work for a long time, like Sketchnate, who I've tied myself to, because I think that whether it's a year or it's 5 years, I think Sketchnate is going to be a world famous artist, right? Because I've seen him, I know he's talented. So that's the art side. But then there's the utility tech side, right? So experienced teams who have a history of executing like really complicated, projects, of delivering tech solutions to a global market, like that can't be understated, right? So somebody like Ben Morrow and Huxley Saga, like I think they're going to be here forever because he's been working on that forever, and they have an execution team that has, delivered some of the biggest video games ever, right? So it's like the teams with technical experience delivering, tech platforms, projects, etc., and then also the artists that you think are really, really legit. Those are the types of projects that I think are, that I look for, that I think are going to be super valuable. And then, you could throw historical provenance on there if they were the first to do something really interesting. Maybe that too.
Sounds like we need to do a Rate My Bag segment, GIF. We need to get the artist Rate My Bag segment in here.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking science here, so it's about time that we bring that in.
Easy in Crypto is saying cyber brokers. We got a lot of other comments. Super Yetis, Drew is in here in the chat. Asmodai saying, do we feel like gaming NFT launches are doing better just now? And then someone was mentioning a Gifted's Hex Sauce routine for his skincare. So a lot of crazy comments happening in the chat. Also, if you guys want to see GM Web3 and what goes on, this was a highlight at the top of the show. What's going on here, GIF? What's happening here?
That's my boy Eli, the Rat King. Just letting them know what's up. It's the truth. He's just putting it on blast. And so we had to, of course, share this one this morning in our, we were talking about sex workers and NFTs and where Prawn Stars and all of that stuff overlaps with what NFTs do as a technology. It was a fascinating conversation.
It was. I enjoyed that comment a lot, or all the comments related to that show this morning. So, guys, we do have to get on to the second topic. We're 48 minutes into the episode. Why the fuck not? We're going to talk ApeCoin. So we have ApeCoin staking. This has been something that has been on the minds of ape holders. BAYC obviously has an outsized kind of presence in the NFT space in general. So you have ApeCoin, which launched, I think, sometime last summer, like early summertime, May. I might be completely off base with that, but basically ApeCoin is now being allowed to be staked, which, there's, like everything in Web3, there's detractors and there's people that, really see the benefit in it. Certainly ape holders that also have ApeCoin have the potential now to earn percentage APYs, of which we'll put up some here in a second. Mike was saying earlier that there were big numbers, but what does that do to ApeCoin price? If you're just looking to get exposure to the ape ecosystem, BAYC ecosystem, before we were kind of telling people, hey, you should buy, ApeCoin. But if you're not staking it, now that you see this, supply is going to be increased through staking, which that's the process that will happen, is this kind of a bad thing for ApeCoin price in general? So I'll bring up some staking pools, but in the meantime, guys, let me know what your thoughts are in general on AIP 29. I believe this is a proposal by the DAO that's going to be implemented and done October 31st is the tentative date. So anybody feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this a little bit before the show, kind of hammering out the details. There's a lot of them. There's a bunch of links going around kind of with more info. There's a Dune Analytics dashboard that'll, really break stuff out and kind of give you a good idea. And those, potential APY numbers are very strong. They make assumptions based on the amount staked, based on the price of ApeCoin staying where it is, which it certainly won't. So you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt, understanding that you really don't know what's going to happen when you kind of financialize this stuff until you actually see it. But, broadly, there's 4 different pools. You get access to those pools at a larger cap, as far as I know, based on which NFT you hold. So there's ApeCoin, BAYC, MAYC, and then a paired pool like they've done before. So, 100 million Ape going out, is it the first year, I think, which is a lot of tokens hitting the market. So for me, I think, broadly, it's a good idea for Yuga if you kind of follow the same thought process or at least like opinion line that I do with what Ape really is. I think Ape is a way to take the non-fungible NFTs and give them something fungible that's a lot easier to sell more than 80 ETH worth at one time. I think that was a big win for a lot of Ape holders when they received those tokens and they could sell 25% of the tokens or 50% or all of the tokens and kind of pull down some profit, right? So that, I think, on the trading side and more on the crypto side, like that is kind of the hurdle that ApeCoin and staking has to get over with some of your crypto folks who maybe aren't as much into NFTs, or they were just kind of trading them while they were hot, right? Is like, okay, you're providing this new staking opportunity, but you're releasing all these coins and naturally like the price should go down as people take profit on the staking. So it's, for me, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I think it's structured well. I think it makes sense for what Yuga's trying to do. I think in a lot of ways they need to buy some time with their community before other side comes out and is just like an absolute game changer for them. But also, if you're not in a country where you have access to be able to say, stake Ape and short the rewards that you're earning, or even short the ape that you're staking, the principal ape that you're staking, you have to be very careful, understanding that there's all this new ape coming onto the market at a time where tokens are not doing well. And yeah, those rates are great, but if you lose 80 or 90% in ApeCoin value, it's like, well, where have you really kind of gone after all that work?
And I think there is an unlock for the team or for the VCs as well that kind of coincides with this staking, which is another thing to keep in mind. That's kind of a bearish take. Bullish take, usually around like some form of, I would say, like introduction of staking, where the BAYC team, the Yuga Labs team knows that this is going to dump the price if they don't incorporate some type of feature that they announce around the time that this stuff goes live. So that's the bullish case to me, is like along with staking comes some form of extra potential utility for ApeCoin. That's what I'm hoping for at the end of the month when this stuff goes live. What are your guys' thoughts?
When it comes to the tokens, man, you know me. I don't know. I'm like, I just don't know what to do outside of like, hey, this looks like a good number. I'm going to sell the tokens that I saved. For me, like my game plan with the Ape tokens from the beginning when I got my airdrop was like, sell some, take your profits, make sure you don't feel bad about holding, and then hold the rest for a long ass time. So I've got enough that like, if this pops a little bit, then maybe I shave a little off, sell some, but I'll stake the full amount to my Ape that I've got, and then I'll let that ride for a while. I think like, when it comes to tokens, I don't know much. So for me, it's like, if I've got one moonshot token where I've got a bag of them, and if it really blows up, then it's definitely Ape, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I just plan on holding and riding it out and taking a little profit here and there as I go, I think, which is a good strategy for everyone. Same thing I said with like Renga. It's like, as much as I like the art and I like, the 5 that I bought, got to let a couple go. So, you're covering your losses and your costs, and you continue to keep your head in a positive.
What was your sell price there, Ronan, if you don't mind me asking, on Ape the first time around? That first airdrop, did you get around the $20 or any type of that mark? Because I give you props.
Nah, dude, I sold at like 14, and then I sold again at like 16, and then honestly, like the weekend that like it really pumped and like other side, and we got our other side drops, I was not dialed in at all, dude.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. If I would have saw the damn other side deeds hit 40 ETH, I would have been selling my other side deeds so freaking fast and buying up like floor one, dude. I missed that. That would have been my move. Yeah. But you know, it is what it is.
So we do have a comment in chat. I do want to get you Gift Ed and Mike's take on this. Marty McFly saying, I'm on the fence. Do I buy 3K Ape at $5 to stake and watch it go down after, or just watch what happens? I have not decided. I do want to pull up this pool information one more time. So basically the way it works is Mike talked about the 4 pools. Essentially there's a cap on the NFT pools. There's no cap on the Ape pool. So there is one pool that you see over on the left-hand side that essentially says, you know, you can just stake Ape coin. You don't need to have an NFT, and then you get that percentage of which you can see the APY here. If that stays at 37%, again, take this with a grain of salt. This might be like a very fluid APY, but those are some large percentages for the NFT holders. So essentially, you know, and people are all kind of making their estimations as to what it can make, but you're able to stake a certain amount based on the NFTs you hold. That's kind of the idea there. It's about 10K for the Bored Ape holders, 2K for each mutant ape, and 800 for the kennels.
But they don't this is paired though, right? So like there's no separate kennel club liquidity pool.
I think
you have to have kennel to be able to stake the extra 800 and change for a dog. You have to have it paired with a mutant or
see, and that's why the floor on the kennel club isn't pumping right now. So like I don't know. To me, that kind of feels like a miss because like you know I'm one of these guys who's been over here like when utility, you know, for kennel club. So it's like this is utility.
Mutant dogs, man, those guys. Mutant dogs.
Yeah,
it's gonna be one of the mutant dogs.
Down bad.
It does provide some utility, don't get me wrong, but like it would have been cool to have a separate kennel club liquidity pool. I don't know.
So somewhere out there's a guy that's just holding one kennel dog as exposure to the ecosystem, just absolutely hammered, just wrecked over the year.
Yeah. There's probably quite a few people that have a kennel club that they got into because they're like, this is how I get into the ecosystem and get utility out of it. And they're just like fucked right now. They're like, man, I can't get shit.
I think the only time they will pump is when you can bring a dog into the other side. If it's like, you know, your non NFT character, right? You don't have like a monkey or a mutant, you know, but hey man,
like a companion,
like that dog. Yeah, exactly. Like that's big in video game history and lore. So that's when they pump. So another couple years, your bag would be back.
Like we're talking about the long game, man. You got to be in it for the long game.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the question in the chat, right? Like, there's no good answer for me. If I was going to do it, I would try to do it in the most market neutral way possible. Maybe that's just the way that I think about it. But I don't see a lot of upside potential for APE here, considering the broader market, sentiment going on. Like the people that I talk to outside of the NFT space are not like, oh my God, there's a big NFT staking thing happening here. Like I gotta buy Ape. Like everybody assumes it's gonna fail. So you know, it's kind of tainted in that way a little bit.
It's interesting because I think you're right about that, but also I've had conversations with like actual like family members and like friends of my family who are looking for exposure, but know that they don't know enough about the space to know how to get in, and so they're like talking to me about trying to set up some kind of, you know, partnership or whatever. So like, I think you're right that by and large, most people are not that stoked about the space right now and getting into it. But I do think there's still a lot of people that understand that there is opportunity, but they might just be scared and not know the best way to get exposure to what's happening.
Yeah, and whenever that really kicks off again in like a major bull market way, I think Ape will do very, very well because it will exist as that kind of like, hey, Yuga's moving, like they're on the Tonight Show again or whatever, or they've created their own Tonight Show, you know, like how can I get in for $500? Well, Kennel Club's a pump now because you're using them in the game, so I'm gonna buy some ape. But that's just kind of what I'm seeing. So that's how I would go about it. The trick is that there's not really, unless you already have a setup with an FTX or a Binance where you could short the same amount of ape you buy and have the extra cash to use as margin, which is not a lot of people based on regulations these days. Then the only other option is some sort of DeFi opportunity, right? And I haven't been able to find in the little time I looked some ability to go and put up collateral to borrow ApeCoin, right? Which is effectively the same as shorting it. You borrow it and sell it for cash, and whatnot. But even then, it's the loop doesn't work well. So that's kind of my biggest fear, is that there's not enough buy side demand for ApeCoin to keep the price anywhere near where it is now. So I'm for me personally, I wouldn't be the guy going out and spending 5, 10, 15 grand to stake this on a yearly APY when there doesn't really seem like a lot of reinforcements coming from the buy side.
Yeah, Marty's saying Yuga needs something soon. I think they're losing ground personally. That happens to be around the time that they always release something. It just felt like that's kind of the time frame, the 2 to 3 month window that they usually hit on. But to your guys' point, I mean, the ApeCoin price is pretty stagnant, and this goes live at the end of the month. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of buying pressure to try to get in to then stake.
One thing to add into this is what it does to the supply of their NFTs too, right? Because that can impact the larger ecosystem. If everybody locks up and stakes all of their apes and all of their mutants and a lot of the kennel clubs, the people that can, then the supply on the market dries up, and you know what that does to the overall price, right? So I don't know.
Do you have to?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Something.
They're going through Horizon Labs, which I've got it pulled up here on the screen for y'all to see kind of the UI there. Do we know if we have to stake NFTs here? Anything being specifically locked up?
I would assume so, because that's how most staking works, right? But I don't know. Maybe they've come up with some.
I don't think you're locking the ape itself. I think you have to own the ape to get access to the pool, but I don't know. But when you say locking up, I mean, it's essentially doing the same thing as actually locking it, because you can't send the ape anywhere. You send the ape anywhere, and wherever it's sent, they have access to the tokens. So I don't really know the details there.
The other thing too is if you own an ape and you buy a bunch of ApeCoin and you stake it and then you sell the ape, is your ApeCoin staking lost until you rebuy that specific ape? So there's got to be the token tie-in.
The tokens are the ownership of the tokens that are in the staking pool go with the ape. So if you sold your ape to me, I could then go to the staking pool website, log in with the ape in my wallet, and then claim the tokens. You no longer can.
So it's like a signature based on
yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. So I read that in the thread is they tell you if you plan on selling your ape and you don't want to lose your tokens, then you need to make sure you unstake, take your tokens out, then sell the ape, because the ownership of those tokens in the pool is tied to the ape.
That's interesting. Also, just in terms of things for people to be careful of, Rito, who some of y'all might know, he's a pretty well-known artist, really, really cool artist in the space. He was just tweeting about how he lost his ape to a lender. Basically, he had some kind of arrangement for an extension on his loan that he took out against his ape. But, of course, what those lenders do is you stake it with them, right? They take custody, and basically this lender just took it and said, sorry, bro, here's a couple of, to make it feel better, and kind of screwed him, even though they had another deal. So there's a lot of people. yeah, well, there's a lot of people out there like, using different types of NFT-Fi or lending right now to try and get liquidity to do different things. Just be really careful with that shit too, and
Do
also
your
around,
research.
yeah, and also around the staking too. Like it's another opportunity for FOMO and for people to be, trying to scam you. So just be careful out there.
Yeah,
There's
there's like
a lot of stuff, man.
to like the platform point, like the platform that they use for that apparently allows for the loaner to then make those decisions, but you can use like lending platforms where it's the lender does not have the ability to do that, where it's based on like the floor price and things like that. The other thing is that this is again just like the dad in me, but like this is like a lesson you should be taught way before it happens, which is like you don't ever believe anything anyone says when it comes to business and money unless it's in writing. And in this case, like Rito, and look, I've read through it. Like he got, the guy was like, yeah, that's cool, that works. Just make sure you send the updated contract or whatever. That's in writing, right? So it's not solidified. And then when Rito decided to update it, it was 9 minutes before it expired. So he's taking a chance in like doing that himself, right? Like if it were me and I sent that off, I'm sitting there and 60 seconds before my timer's up and he has access to claim my ape, I'm paying it off. Rito said he had the ETH, he could have paid it, but the agreement was changed, but it wasn't in writing or wasn't in the contract and it wasn't facilitated. So that's like, that sucks, man. But you gotta like that's something you gotta learn. Like you can't trust anything, especially some random person on the internet.
That's the bad thing and good thing about crypto as well, is like there's not those security rails in place to help you get this stuff back. It's what scares most people about this space too. But like you're on your own in a lot of ways. There's no like there's no authorities for the most part. Like you truly have to be looking out for yourself for sure when it comes to security.
Q, what if the U announcement is their own DeFi platform for this flywheel?
Let's go.
Right? That would help quite a bit if you could lend your ape out while also still maintaining access to ApeCoin staking, and the money that you get from lending it out, or in this case, I guess borrowing against it, right? To then buy ape and stake it. Like now you kind of have a flywheel, right? Because people are going to go, they're going to buy the ape, right? They're going to put it up as collateral to borrow ApeCoin and stake it. And the more apes that get pulled off of market for that, then the more ApeCoin gets pulled off into staking, and you kind of have like this positive flywheel. But
okay.
If you are using the ape as collateral and that ape had to borrow ApeCoin and that ape has to then go into like a smart contract wallet, then it's never going to work, right? Because then the access piece is cut off and there are issues there. But that would be nice, because people like me and other traders and whatnot would look at this and be like, 250%, 300% APY, like nothing else in the DeFi space or anywhere else is offering this. Can even running it like in a market neutral form, let's say you get like half that, you get 125, 150%, like that's big for sure.
Yeah, we'll be on the lookout there, and appreciate everybody's comments. Guys, you had a lot of great takes on that ape coin here as well, the ApeCoin staking in the Bored Ape ecosystem. We are an hour and 8 minutes in. That means like we're about to be done with the episode. I know a lot of guys have hard stops as well. I'm sitting here with Mike Finch from Parada Capital, Ronan from Gig Labs and Gigantic, Gifted from Nifty Castle and Web3. It's been a great discussion. Listen, Gifted is our resident Gary V simp, so I will end the show with the VeeFriends and Toys R Us / Macys news. And I, of course, have to get Gifted's take here on what this means for Gary V in the space. Now, I'm just giving you a hard time, man. I want to pull up the article as well in the release, because I think this is a great release, Gifted. I am big time on VeeFriends Series 2 as it relates to what they're doing in the space.
I'm just looking forward to Marty McFly's comments about to be hitting the chat right now. I went and picked up another VeeFriends 2 off the floor. That's my take, right? It's, to me, like, it's just showing more and more where all this is going, which is exactly what Gary Vee has been saying for the last 6 months to a year. He is turning this into a world-class children's IP. I've said this before. I think Gary Vee is the closest thing to a Walt Disney of the NFT space of Web3, because he has what it takes. He has the vision, and he's a proven winner, and he understands that, decentralized IP is a big part of where everything is going. So I'll say it one more time. My prediction is that after VCon 3 in 2 years, he makes a giant announcement and he says, "Welcome to V World, everybody. I have a massive tract of land in Wyoming that I've been developing, under cover of night for the last 2 years." And yeah, it's where all of this stuff comes to life with a bunch of other amazing partners. That's my prediction. I'm super bullish.
That's a dope take. The one thing I will change about that, I think it's more likely that it's like some type of metaverse experience, right? Like I think maybe that's more likely than buying an actual physical property and launching amusement park rides. So anyways, take on VeeFriends. I'll pull up the article here as well. So here we have the plush and vinyl toys that will be released. So this is like another digiphysical, as we say here on NFT Live, but apparently the rest of the world says phygital.
Again, just in time for Christmas, like who else is front running this holiday season with massive distribution for accessible physical goods better than this right now? Name another NFT project that is more set up to capitalize on the holiday season.
Seasonality, yeah.
I mean, my kids are definitely getting some VeeFriends for Christmas, so is what it is. I think it's to Gift's point, like it's the obvious next step, right? Like it's the continuing of the brand. Like I imagine, like probably a stepping stone to VeeFriends world is probably going to be some IP deal where he's got a morning show on Netflix or something that drops, right? Like we see, fucking Cocomelon and shows like Ryan's Toys that are all based on these IPs that were built on YouTube, right? So why not an IP that's built by someone like Gary Vee that's already got a massive fan base and fervor around it? So to me, it makes a lot of sense that we'll probably see a whole lot more branding of VeeFriends in our everyday lives, and our kids are probably going to grow up talking about VeeFriends just like we talk about He-Man and Mighty Max and shit that most people here don't know what I'm talking about.
Mike, last takes, those 80s throwbacks around. I don't like it. Finch, you got any thoughts on VeeFriends with Toys R Us here?
I think anything Gary Vee related, I think just has a necessary advantage in the space because he is so visible inside and outside of crypto. Like he's probably one of the best people who has migrated his persona and his brand to crypto, right? Like everybody
his
else
audience his audience. Like this is one of my biggest points about why Gary Vee deserves a lot of credit, is because we've seen so many other big brands and celebrities, Web2 celebrities, come into the space who expect to just show up and get showered with money by the Web3 community when they haven't actually built anything in Web3, haven't provided anything of value to the Web3 culture or community. Gary Vee is one of the only people who invested a lot of time and energy into educating and onboarding his audience into Web3. So it's like, I'm glad that you hit on that and you see that part of it.
Got you, dog. Got your bags. No worries.
Y'all, this was a great episode of NFT Live. We appreciated everyone participating. I see you there in chat, Marty McFly. We're not going to bring you up on stage here, but I do like your entry into GM Web3 Morning Show. Those are always awesome.
Get him up here. Where you at, Marty?
Easy is saying sorry.
You want me to ring the bell? Let's do this.
Sorry, VeeFriends can't replace Transformers and G.I. Joe, but good points all around. Guys, I honestly, all three of you came through with some great quotes today. The last thing I'm going to ask from the chat, from you guys that are watching out there, please either retweet if you're on Twitter. If you're on YouTube, like the video, and I will get an announcement here out about next week and what me and GIF are planning on doing to NFT Live. So I'm waiting. I think we waited long enough. We are doing NFT Live 4 to 5 times a week starting next week. Me and GIF are doing this every single day. It's going to be immediately following the GM Web3 morning show that he does Monday through Thursday. Shout out to Savage as well, will be hosting it on Fridays. But every fucking single day we'll be here. So hopefully you guys appreciate that. I appreciate my co-host. Any last things? We'll go around the round/square table here. Mike, you got any last thoughts before we head out here?
Doodles, man, October 17th. That's my bags. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping, for some sort of announcement here. If you're kind of just tuning in on the live, that's their first anniversary. So that's what I'm hoping for. That's always been my, my biggest bags on the NFT front was Doodles. But it's been nice to kind of see, as Ronan said in the episode, like a little bounce. Some big games for some folks and things like RENGA and whatnot. So hopefully this continues. We get a nice holiday and, can kind of get out of this despair of current market conditions a little bit, but always a pleasure to be here, fellas. Anytime.
Q, did we move Doodles up to S tier last time on rate my bags?
No, but the next time Mike comes on, we'll have the Rate My Bag segment. We'll
I think we bumped up. I think we bumped up Doodles or something. I don't know, but just know
I'm not opening that right now.
We got your bags too, bro.
GIF, you got any last thoughts?
Yeah. Well, you already mentioned like the new format starting next week with NFT Live. That's going to be a lot, but it's going to be great. And we're just trying to be more consistent, provide more value on a regular basis. And a big part of the reason why we want to do it Monday through Thursday directly after Web3 is because so much great content is covered on that show also that we want to have it fresh and just kind of like recap a lot of that and talk about the highlights and any of the insights that we kind of discovered talking, in Twitter Spaces that morning, and make sure that we're getting that out to everybody. So excited to be doing that with you, Q, and the rest of the fam, and hopefully Ronan and Michael jump on sometimes. I don't really expect y'all to come on every single day, but
it's open.
We'll bring the roundtable back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
Man, it's been an interesting week in NFTs. Looking forward to more. It's been fun with you guys. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks to everybody who came and hung out with us today in chat. We appreciate you guys, and you know what it is. That's our vibe, our tribe. We'll catch you later.